first candle on the count of 3. Everybody say Umoja. 1, 2, 3.
Umoja.
Mr. Connor, can you come here and light the second candle, please? We're still on red right now. We still on red.
Ain't no blue.
Kian.
No, I did.
Come like the next candle.
What was it?
On the count of 3, everybody say Kuji Chakalia.
Kuji Chakalia.
See, if this was Simon Says.
Oh, yeah. It said on the count of 3.
1, 2, 3.
Kuji Chakalia.
Third candle. Light it. Take the candle, light it on one of those big candles.
Red count.
Right.
See, I went first because I'm a Capricorn. So Capricorn. Yeah.
Okay, this is the third one. On the count of 3, you're going to say Ujima. 1, 2, 3.
Ujima.
Denzel, Sequoia. Okay. One of the green on the end.
Laline.
So I don't know if my son likes his middle name or not.
What is it?
It's Sequoia.
That's serious.
So the reason why I named him Sequoia is because the root of the word sequence, which means in harmony with, is S-E-Q-U. And so this is the first of Sequoia. O, that's cipher. That's no beginning, no ending. And Yah, which is the Hebrew name of God, which is Yahweh. So Sequoia means in harmony with God. So one day he's gonna embrace that, but you know what I'm saying?
So that could be a girl name too.
It could, depending on how you spell it, depending on, you know, what you mean. Yeah. Somebody's at the front door, sir. Okay, on the count of 3, everybody say Ujama. 1, 2, 3.
Ujama.
Okay, niece. Would you do me the honor of writing?
That's what I wanted to do.
No, the black one is for the, you know,
It's for
the black thorns. Yeah. I love my niece. My niece was working with me on the mayoral campaign last year, and she's doing a lot of wonderful things. I am so proud of her.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, we are on Ujama. 1, 2, 3.
Ujama.
Okay. Come on, baby. Come on. Everybody's waiting on you. We're proud of you. You could do it. Pick the lock, Malcolm. Pick the lock. Pick the lock. You can do it. Pick the lock. Pick the lock, Malcolm. You can do it. Y'all remember when Malcolm he was trying to pray? They was trying to tell him to pray, and he was like, "I used to pick locks. That was the only time I was on my knees." He was like, "Y'all can see the movie." Pick the lock. Can you go get your mother's hand, please? We skipped something. We must have did something twice. On the count of 3, say Nia. 1, 2, 3.
Nia.
On the count of 3, say Kuumba. 1, 2, 3.
Kuumba.
Come on, wife.
Opening the door.
Somebody go again.
Okay. All right. Cool. So we're gonna do this real quick. Of course, you know we're gonna do the game also as well. You know, normally it's the men versus the women, and unfortunately, the women lose every year. But this year I feel it. It could be different this year. This way I feel it.
Every single year, y'all cheat.
Okay, so this is the last candle we are lighting, the black, representing the black thorns. Come on, baby. Just like we did, baby, when we got married. Come on, just take it.
Are we doing it together?
Yes, baby, we doing this together. Me and you. We is one. Okay, everybody say Imani.
Imani.
And those are the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. All right. So now, let's go here. Give me about 15 minutes of your time. Let's go here. So again, this was our alternative to celebrating the Christmas holiday. Now, this is the reason why we did not celebrate the Christmas holiday, because, of course, when you learn more, or when you learn better, you
Do
better. Now, again, we're not knocking anyone's holiday or anything like that. I honor the birth of Christ. I am a Christian. My belief is in Jesus, Yeshua. Okay? So, nowhere in the Bible it says he was born on December the 25th. And if you can find it, I got $100 in my pocket that I will give you right now.
Wait, what was that? What was the question?
It wasn't a question. The statement was, nowhere in the Bible does it says that Jesus was born on December the 25th.
That is true. It was in the month of September. That's true.
So now, if he was not born on December the 25th, then where did December the 25th come from?
The winter solstice.
So, of course. So, does anyone know what the winter solstice is?
It's a pagan holiday.
So, hold on, wait a minute.
Oh, okay.
The winter solstice is the shortest day of the year.
Right. The sun's
And it is December the 21st.
when it starts.
That's the day of the winter solstice. That's the day when there's more darkness than there is light. You say, man, it gets dark so early. So what did the pagans do who believed in other gods on December the 21st? They began to celebrate this particular day. Now in Egypt, they had a god that represented the darkness called Set. When the sun goes down, they call it sunset. They had another god that represented the sun in the sky, and his name was Horus. Ra was another name. Osiris was another name, but we're going to talk about Horus. When you look and gaze upon where the sky meets the ground, you say horizon. That's where the word horizon comes from. It comes from the god Horus. So the nephew Horus was in a dispute with his uncle Set, the god of darkness and the god of light. So it was said, according to Egyptology, and in other nations they had different names for those gods, that the uncle defeated the nephew on December the 21st. So the darkness conquered the light. Right. So for the next 3 days, the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th, it appeared as if the sun didn't come back. It was dead. But on December the 25th, when the astrological event happened where the sun began to ascend back in the air, the days started to get longer. And so those who believed in the sun god said that this was the rebirth of the sun. And if you go on your search engines right now and you type in gods born on December the 25th, you're going to see Hercules. You're going to see Mithra. You're going to see Zoroaster. You're going to see all these different kind of gods, but these gods represented the sun in the sky. And what they would do to commemorate and celebrate these gods that they celebrated was the sun up in the sky, they would take a tree and they will put that tree in their home. What's the only tree that don't shed in the wintertime?
Evergreen.
The evergreen tree, right? Or evergreen actually comes from every green. So Dion, do me a favor. Go to Jeremiah, the 10th chapter. I want you to read that. This is those who believe in the Bible. Let's see what the God says about the Christmas celebration and the tree. Go ahead.
Verse 1 starting.
Start at verse 1.
Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel.
So who is this talking, Dion?
This is
the Lord talking.
Right.
All right, what he said?
Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven.
So we're going to stop right there. I don't want you to do what the other nations do. The word heathen is another word for nations. There's something that the other nations do that I don't want you to do. And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. So when you look up in the sky, which is the second heaven, you see a sun, you see a moon, and you see a star, right? And when there is an eclipse, all the white folks go outside and they go ahead and gaze up at the sky because they are amazed at the shooting stars, the Halley comets, and the astrological events that take place. God said, I don't want you to be amazed at the creation. Be amazed at the creator who created the creation. So go ahead, be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. Go ahead.
For the heathen are dismayed at them.
Mm-hmm.
For the custom of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with an axe.
So stop right there. They go and get a tree. They used to cut it down, but now they go to Walmart. And they go to other places. And they go and get this tree. The same tree that God told you don't do, because he said don't do what the heathens do. Now what do they do with this tree according to that?
They deck it with silver and with gold.
They decorate it with silver and gold, shiny things, which represents the things that they looked at when they looked in the sky. Go ahead.
They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not.
Mm-hmm.
They are upright at a palm tree, but speak not.
Oh, why would a tree be speaking? Because this was an idol, brothers and sisters. The balls on the tree represents the moon and the stars and the planets that they saw. The lights on the tree represents the constellations or the stars that they saw up in the sky. And the only way for them to represent those things was to put gold and silver and shiny things on the idol, on the tree. Go ahead.
They must needs be born, because they cannot go.
These idols can't walk, so you got to carry them. Go ahead.
Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil. Neither also is it in them to do good.
So these idols, they can't talk, they can't walk. It's not in them to do evil or to do good. But God said, you ain't need all that. He said, if you're going to worship me in what?
Spirit and truth.
And in truth. Now you say, okay, well, Black Ice, if we ain't supposed to be celebrating that, then what are we supposed to be celebrating? Now, we just celebrated New Year's, right?
Yes, sir.
Every reasonable person up in here with common sense knows the root of the word octagon, right?
Mm-hmm.
It means 8. You stop at a stop sign, it has 8 sides, right? An octopus is called an octopus because it has 8 tentacles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, a decade is what we just came out of, represents how many years? 10 years, right? A decathlon is 10 races, right? Decimal point is rounding to the nearest 10th, right? So any word that begins with DEC means 10. So why do we call December the 12th month of the year? So December is actually the 10th month. January is the 11th month. But I'm going to tell you why they celebrated the new year in January. I want you to look up the god Janus, Janus. While he's looking it up, tell us what we're supposed to be celebrating, Ryan. Go to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. Read verse 1 for me. And down.
And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, The feast of the Lord which you shall proclaim, to be holy convocations.
Stop right there. The feast of the who, Ryan?
The feast of the Lord.
So this is the Lord's feast. This ain't the Jews' feast. This ain't Moses' feast. This is the Lord's feast. He said, you shall proclaim this. This is something that he's commanding us to do. And he said, this is a holy convocation. Convocation means gathering, church. This is when we're supposed to come together. Continue reading.
These are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done. But the 7th day, this is a Sabbath of solemn rest, a holy convocation. You shall do no work on it.
Right. So now the Sabbath day, which is Saturday, he said this is the day we're supposed to come together and congregate and have church. Who changed the Sabbath day from Saturday to Sunday?
The Romans.
It was the Romans, and more specifically the Roman Emperor Constantine in 321 AD, because he worshipped the sun. And since the Romans were in power and people were converting to Christianity, he said, man, look, I tell you what, we're going to let you honor your Jesus. And we're going to let you worship as Christians, but we want you to do it on the day that we celebrate the day of the sun, the sun's day, Sunday, the first day of the week. So the Romans came and threw us all off the calendar. So now we go on to church and congregating on the first day of the week, when the Lord commanded us to do it on the 7th day or the Sabbath day. Again, not judging, not blaming. I'm just educating on what thus saith the Lord. Continue, Ryan.
It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
So no matter where you live.
These are the feasts of the Lord, holy convocations which you shall proclaim at their appointed time.
Check this out.
On the 14th day of the first month, at twilight is the Lord's Passover.
Stop right there. On the 14th day of which month of the year, Ryan?
The first month.
The first month is the Lord's Passover. Somebody look up Passover 2020 on your calendar. So in order for you to determine what the first day of the year is, you got to know when the Passover is. So if the Passover is on the 14th day of the first month, then when you find the Passover, you just subtract 14 days. And when you go, there you go. And when you subtract 14 days from that day, that's when you get the Lord's New Year's Day. So why is the Lord's New Year's Day so different from man's New Year's Day? Why? Give us that God Janus. Who is that? Dion.
Janus is the god of the beginnings, gates, transitions, times, duality, doorways, passages, and endings. He is usually depicted as having two faces, since he looks to the future and to the past.
So Janus is where the word January came from. This was the god of two faces. He was looking back at the past and he was looking back at the future. So the Romans decided, we're not going to start our new year in springtime in the month of March when it's supposed to be. We're going to move it to the month that we named after the god Janus to celebrate that god. Celebrate the fact that he was looking backwards and forward. So in order for us to have good fortune in the new year, we wanted to change the new year to his day. I'm saying all this to say this, brothers and sisters. We have been lied to. Mm-hmm. We have been told things. In the name of Jesus, we've been told things. We're still being taught things in the name of Jesus. But it's upon us to do this research. It's right there in your phone. You can look it up. You can research it to make sure that when you say, I'm doing this in the name of Jesus, or Jesus is the reason for the season, that he is really the reason for the season and it's not the god Janus. Or it's not any of the pagan gods, Horus, or any of these other gods, because in Exodus, the 20th chapter, he said, thou shalt have no other gods before me. So we have to be careful, brothers and sisters. So this is why we moved away from the Christmas celebration, not because we didn't want to honor the birth of Christ. Yes, we want to honor the birth of Christ. And if Christ died at 33 and a half years old, and if he was killed on the Passover, then all you got to do is count 6 months from the Passover. So if the Passover is in April, you got May, June, July, August, September, October. So we know he was born around the time of September and October.
They said around harvest.
Around harvest, because it was 6 months after the day that he was killed. His ministry was a 3.5 year ministry. He started his ministry at age 30. And why did he start it at age 30? Because it's a law. You can look in the book of Numbers, the 4th chapter, that you cannot enter into the ministry until you are 30 years old. And this is why his ministry started at 30 years old, because he kept the law. So there's a lot of things that through research and studying, we show ourselves approved. And pastor can't save you, and mama can't save you, and daddy can't save you. You got the research to do the information to save yourself. And this is why we celebrate Kwanzaa, yeah?
You did.
All right? So what I want to do at this time is we do this every year, and I'm glad that we have it on video most of the years, because there was a lot of times when people spoke and they're not here anymore, but we can go back and show the video as to what they thought. So now is the time that we turn it over to you and we ask you what you are thankful for coming into man's new year